Welcome back to Healing Mindset. Beautiful souls, I am Nazish, and tonight's conversation is a powerful reminder that healing, success, and spiritual transformation are not privileges, they are possibilities. We are joined by Dr. Crystal T. Harrell, a woman whose journey stretches from public housing in Alabama to earning PhD from Yale. But what makes her story extraordinary isn't just achievement, it is the deeper inner work that accompanied it. Her path is rooted in holistic health, radical self awareness, and spiritual expansion. It offers a remarkable model for rising above circumstances and returning wholeness. Crystal, welcome to Healing
Oh,
Mindset. I'm truly honored to have you here tonight. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling well. Thank you so much for having me.
The pleasure is all mine. So, you have often spoken about the moment you realized you were still looking at life through a lens of a traumatized child. That is such a
Mm,
powerful realization. How does someone begin to recognize when their current choices are really being shaped by old wounds?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for that question. Hopefully my video and audio is okay. There's some internet connection.
Is it perfectly fine?
Okay, great. So the context for that when I mentioned that I was looking at life through the lens of a traumatized child, the context for that is that I was in my first year, my graduate program, and on paper everything looked like it was going well. Like I was achieving these big goals for someone who started in public housing, which is in the US, is basically like government housing. So if your family, if your parents make below a certain amount of money, they put you in these subsidized housing, and so it was me and my 9 other siblings. And when I was 11, I lost my father to cancer. So that process, like all the first of all, watching a parent die, and then on top of that, all the chaos that happened. And so my natural instinct was survival. Like it was get out of the situation and do everything you needed to do. So I was on paper, everything looked fine because I was achieving, I was accomplishing the goals. But during 2018, when I had that realization, I recognized that if I continued to live my life in that way, that my nervous system, that my spirit was going to continue to feel like it was suffering because I was suffering internally. But I was expressing that suffering through achievement, um, through, like I said, the lens of a traumatized child who was trying to find a a place within her body, within herself. And so when I made that switch and realized that nothing that I achieved, nothing that I ever accomplished was going to bring me that sense of safety, I had to go internal. I had to look at myself. I had to look at the things that I was running from. I had to face those shadows. And when I started that process, which it's been 7 years, I don't think the journey ever ends. Like you're always constantly unfolding and evolving. Like the lotus is beautiful, but it can be uncomfortable. So when I discovered that, it was like life started to look different. And the more I let go, the more that I looked at the things that were hidden within me, the freer I became. And so it's this beautiful process of Michael Singer talks about it in his book, The Untethered Soul, but it's a letting go of the things that are keeping us anchored to those old stories.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us and that with so much honesty. I can understand it must be tough for people to share this, but it really makes us aware that, people awareness doesn't come from shame, it comes from compassion. And once that awareness appears, what do you feel is the first step towards rewriting that internal narrative?
I think for everyone it's very different because the journey of self-discovery is very unique. It's very particular to what it is that you're experiencing, the different life experiences you had that had caused you pain and that you are still holding on. So for some people it happens, early in life. For some people it happens later. Like, it's all a process. Um, but one of the things I can say is that if you're noticing that you are operating energetically from a place of fear, from a place of survival. You don't feel safe in your body. You feel like you're constantly having to prove yourself and constantly having to show up as this perfect being, which no one is perfect. Even creation itself is this imperfect, beautiful dance of life and death, of give and take. So I feel like if you see yourself or feel yourself in that energetic prison, really, that is the first step. That is that recognition happens exactly when it needs to happen for you, and it happens for people at different stages in their life. But when it does happen for you, when you have that deep insight, like, look, I'm not okay. Something has to change. Not that you're broken, but because you're full of potential that you're just not expressing. When you have that insight, it changes everything. But it has to come from an authentic place, not a forced place.
It is absolutely amazing what you said, and I cannot agree more with it. I feel it also it also gives our listeners a gentle starting point that, it cannot happen overnight. Like there is no pressure to do things overnight. It is just about that one point of realization when it hits you. And it's absolutely beautiful the way you put it.
Oh, thank
Um
you.
yeah. So a unique element of your work is how you weave public health research with spirituality. For people who struggle to combine science and inner wisdom, how do those two worlds actually support each other in holistic well-being?
Yeah, so I heard someone say this, hopefully I quote them, correctly, but they said that, science is the logical side of spirituality. So spirituality and science actually go together. I always felt like science was the language of what is happening at this energetic level that we cannot see. So you have things like quantum physics, epigenetics, all these different fields of science that are only echoing what the spiritual community has known for years, that we are spiritual beings having this human experience, that everything is energy and particle and wave before it is matter. All of that is the same. It's the same thing. And so the way I look at the science and spirituality in my work of holistic health is everything that we've experienced in life has impacted us at a spiritual level. And sometimes that is expressed energetically, that is expressed physically when it comes to things like disease and different things that cause a stressor for us in our minds, and then that stress has a physical impact. There's years and years and decades of evidence-based data that state how stress impacts the body. In public health, stress is called the silent killer, because it's so detrimental and it goes unnoticed for so long because compounded over time it breaks down the body. And so I would like to use the science of spirituality to really unlock this essence we have within us, to not see ourselves only as these physical beings, but look at our spiritual nature and see there can be an alignment between our spiritual body, our mental body, and our physical body. And I truly believe the alignment of the three is what helps us walk in perfect health. And when I say perfect health, I just mean expressing the natural innate health that we have from within us.
This is such a refreshing perspective, and it shows that science and spirit does not have to compete, like they can complete each other. And
Mhm.
yeah, and when the science and spirit seem to point in different directions, which one would you encourage someone to lean on first?
Mm, okay, I think I'm biased in this. Only because I do consider myself spiritual before I ever considered myself a scientist. Um, Only because I see science as the physical, which again, if we look at it from the point of view of nature, the spiritual always comes before the physical. The wave comes before the particle, and they're not separate. You can't have one without the other. And so sometimes I think it may appear that they're going in opposite directions, but I feel like the more we explore science, the deeper we get to a level of truth, and that truth reveals the spiritual nature behind that scientific endeavor. It's kind of difficult to explain through words because I would need like a specific example. But for me, my spirituality, my intuition, that invisible nature that I have has never led me in the wrong direction. It's only when I started looking outside of myself did I question my innate knowing. And I think science, like I said, is the language of spirituality. And language is physical. Language is, like I'm saying these things and you're hearing it, but all of this exists from within me at a non-physical space. And so that's why, like I said, it's kind of hard to answer. It's a very good question. It's very deep. I don't know the correct answer, but that's my answer.
Definitely the bias that you're talking about, I can agree with it. Like I am myself very spiritual as a person, so I understand that intuition and that spirit, that relief that you get from the spirituality, it's beyond words. So I
Yeah.
completely relate with that. So, many people think that self awareness is just introspection. In your experience, what distinguishes real self awareness from self criticism or overthinking?
I think so awareness is I like to describe it in my TED Talk. I speak about self-awareness as the flashlight. And when you have a flashlight, you illuminate different parts. Like if I was shining a flashlight in a dark room, wherever I flash my flashlight, wherever I put my flashlight, I see that illuminated part of the room so I can see clearly. Self-awareness is that flashlight to allow you to see the dark areas within yourself more clearly. And so introspection would be like the flashlight itself. Um, Self-awareness would be the light that is projected through the flashlight. Does that make sense? So introspection would be like the tool of self-awareness to help you see yourself more clearly. But there's many tools to use. There you could use meditation. You could use there's so many different tools you can use to express that light. But self-awareness is the light. Your introspection is the tool. When you're criticizing yourself, I always look at it as like how the energy behind it. So self-criticism, shame, low self-esteem, that is very energetically dense energy. And so it's very difficult to lift yourself to a place of, for lack of a better word, I just say enlightenment, but I don't mean it in the more so modern day form of enlightenment. I mean, in the more traditional way, being aware of thyself. That is enlightenment. That's true enlightenment is knowing thyself. That process happens from a place of elevation. And so if you're self criticizing, if that's even a word, or if you're criticizing yourself, that's not going to elevate you. That's going to bring you down. So I always look at it as like, how are these different modalities that you're using to have this level of self-awareness, how does that feel within your body? And then from there, you gain a different perspective of like, okay, this works for me. You know, introspection, journaling works for me to help me lift to a different place. Criticizing myself, beating myself down, that doesn't work for me. It makes me feel worse. So it's like I said, this is a very personal relationship that you're having with this process of self-discovery. So you have to be aware of what you're thinking, become aware of the processes that are happening within your body.
Yeah, like I can understand, and trust me, the example that you gave for the torch and the light, it actually makes sense to me. And that difference is everything. Like awareness is that heals versus analysis that hurts.
Mhm.
So yeah. So what is one small practical practice that someone can begin today to shift into a clearer and kinder awareness?
Yeah, so I like I said, this is one of those questions where I'm again biased because I'm a writer. I journal. I've been journaling since I was a little girl. And when I lost my papa, that was something that really helped me process the overwhelm of emotions that happens when you lose a parent that you're so close to. And so I really dug into that journaling practice because you have all these things. It's like a storm of thoughts and emotions going on in your head and in your body. Putting it on paper allows you to put distance between those two things. So for me, journaling allows me to get everything out of here and everything that's happening in here and put it on paper because when I put it on paper, now I'm writing it. Now I'm forming this bit of distance between me and what's happening so I can see it. It's hard to see it when it's up here. I can't really it's hard to see it when it's still in my body when I haven't processed it. So I advocate for journaling, not perfect journaling. I literally mean just writing whatever comes to mind. It doesn't matter what it is, just writing everything down, everything that you're feeling and putting it on paper. You don't have to go back and read it. I don't always reread my journal entries. I have stacks and stacks of journals, but I don't always read all of them. Sometimes I do, depending on the space that I'm in, but I would just advocate for journaling, please. It is it saves so much because you're out of your head and you're in your heart.
That is actually beautiful, and it is something simple and doable that
Yeah.
people might try right away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your story shows incredible resilience, but it also shows profound inner transformation. Those are
Mm.
not the same things. What part of healing journey required the most courage?
All your questions are awesome. Um, Resilience. was what was needed in order to get to a place of inner transformation. So when you're on your journey of self-discovery, when you're on your journey of self-healing and transformation, it is not always going to be comfortable. Like there are some things that come up that you haven't processed in years that are going to be very difficult. And being patient and compassionate with yourself as you're on this journey is going to help you mm, integrate those lessons from these past experiences. And so if you have resilience, that allows you to keep getting back up every time you feel like you've been knocked down by the things that come up. So every time you feel like, dang, this was really difficult to process, that resilience is going to help you say, okay, I know the goal for me. I know how I see myself. And for me, at least, my vision for my life, like I'm not there yet for sure, but my vision is to live free, to live life with an open heart like I did as a child before the trauma. And maybe I'll never be the same as I was before, but I think that it doesn't mean that I can't have that same level of love, that same level of freedom. And for me, that is the end goal. So I feel like the resilience helps me keep getting back up. Every time I feel like life knocks me down, it's like I'm not giving up on myself. I'm not giving up on the vision that I have for my life and who I want to be, not what I want to accomplish, but who I want to become.
That honesty with which you share all your experiences and all your journey with, I swear it is going to stay with a lot of people who are listening in right now. And courage doesn't always look is does isn't doesn't always have to be look strong on the outside. Sometimes it's quiet and unseen, and which is the beauty of it. And for someone who's listening right now, who's going through their own dark season and doesn't believe they have that courage, where can they begin?
Courage, it's like the movie The Wizard of Oz, like, no one can give you courage, it's already inside of you. You're simply on a path to remembering how courageous you are. You're on a path to remembering how whole you are. You're on a path to remembering your light. And that takes time, and it's important for us to be compassionate with ourselves as we remember who we truly are in this world. Because for the first half of our lives, most of us are told who to be and how to act. And of course, it may not have always come from a place of malice, but we're socialized to be a certain way, to act a certain way. And sometimes, if you're like me at least, you were the odd child that always felt like you couldn't get it right. And so I'm simply on the path, and we all are, to remembering that who we were in our natural essence, that we were created that way for a reason because someone needs our light, someone needs our natural essence. And so when you feel like you don't have the courage to keep going, just remember that the courage lives inside of you. You're on a path to keep going. And that's why that resilience is so important because it will help you as you remember.
That answer really feels like a lifeline. Like it offers hope to a lot of people who might be listening right now. So, you help people reconnect with their wholeness. And that word is beautiful but abstract for many. What does
Mm.
living from wholeness actually feel like in everyday life?
It feels like peace. It's exactly what we're all searching for, peace, inner peace. When you're whole, you're at peace because you remember that nothing out there, nothing in this world will make me feel at peace. Peace is an inside job. And so that is wholeness, is returning to that place of peace. And again, that journey looks very different for everyone, but the end goal, the destination is always the same.
Yeah, that's is something that makes sense and it feels peaceful even to listen to it. And and when stress, comparison, or self doubt inevitably show up because they don't go anywhere no matter it's such a difficult task, how does someone maintain that sense of wholeness without feeling without feeling like they're failed?
Yeah, it's first, I would say by recognizing that it's normal to not always feel whole, especially when you live in a world that is constantly telling you that you're missing something. And if you buy this or if you have this, then you'll feel whole. So it's normal to feel like you're missing something, but it's also natural to, again, begin that process of returning to inner wholeness. It's the inside job. And so I would encourage the listener, at least, and myself too, because I'm still on that process, every time I feel like I make a mistake or I'm not whole or I feel like I just missed a step, I always try to ground myself in my body because in the past, I used to disassociate when things felt really heavy, when the emotions, when the anxiety or the stress came, I would disassociate. There are parts of my childhood I don't remember because I was just living in such extreme states of survival and trauma and stress. And so when that comes, the most important thing we can do is be present with the discomfort because you don't get to the other side of discomfort by resisting it. You get to the other side of discomfort by sitting with it, by questioning it, by journaling what's happening inside of me, what's going on, what is it that I need to know at this moment in my life. And that takes a lot of courage. Again, it all goes hand in hand, the resilience, the courage, all of it. But you have it. You're remembering.
It does go hand in hand, and it takes a and this take is so grounding. And maintaining wholeness isn't about never wobbling. It's about knowing where to return. And the peace that we all talk about, it is all about getting that peace, trying to find it, and the awareness. Actually, amazing.
I love the way you stated that.
So, Crystal, thank you so much for sharing so deeply and generously. I know many of our listeners will want to connect and continue learning from your work. Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on my website is www.crystaltharrell.com. There you'll find my social media handles in the upper right hand corner of my website. I'm also on Instagram at Crystal T Harrell PhD, and I recently started a TikTok last week, so we'll see how that goes. But you
It,
can find me there.
TikTok is it's fun. Trust me. I have seen a lot of TikToks of people, and it's just so fun to watch them. Keeps you hooked.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's why I have to get back on social media. I have a love-hate relationship, but I'm getting more into the love part of it by focusing on creation.
That is beautiful. I will make sure to share all these links into the show notes. And Crystal, uh, thank you so much for such an illuminating and empowering wisdom. Your journey shows us that healing is not a luxury, it is a courageous reclamation of self. To everyone listening, if you are seeking resilience, clarity, or a deeper sense of purpose, let this conversation be a reminder that transformation begins with awareness and grows through intention. Start today, pause, look inward, choose one act that honors your wholeness. The path to be healthier, more aligned in life already within reach. Until next time, I am Nazish, and this is Healing Mindset.